We've been also talking about another subject all morning. We did say that we would have the Professor Alex Dodo, who is Executive Director of APSALA Monitoring Center Africa, who's also been talking a lot on Ebola these days in studio. And of course, we do have him. So I want to say good morning to you, Prof.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Before I come to the Ebola subject, though, the Business and Financial Times this morning is reporting that pharmacists are taking the fight to fight fake drugs. That's also another subject that you hammered on heavily, I remember. Where are we with this particular fight?
Well, it's a good start. There's a Ghanaian company, Pedigree. They have been on the news quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they've come with this scratch card technology. That
but we didn't take them serious in Ghana.
We still don't take them that serious, which is a shame. And I must say, I was at the launch yesterday. The technology works. It's good. It's not the only solution, but it's a very good solution. I'm saying we still don't take them serious because it's only a few products and it's voluntary. But if we are really serious about the fight, we may say that, look, technologies like these should be compulsory for most medicines coming in, especially when we don't have the ability to test everything in the country. So I think we must pay more attention to technologies like this, Pedigree and others, which have the ability that when you scratch and you send an SMS, and it's free, you get to know whether what you have is what it says it is. You cannot guarantee that it's been stored well, etc., etc. But at least you know that it is what it says it is and comes from the company it's said to have manufactured it. So it's quite a good start, and we should encourage more of that.
Okay. Hopefully we'll see the end to this fake drug, stuff. But do you know, apart from companies and this outdooring yesterday, do you know the position of government, like what government is specifically doing? Okay,
officially, I mean, what government says it's doing and what happens on the ground can sometimes be very different. Officially, government is against fake drugs and everything, and the Food and Drugs Authority, I know lately has been doing even much more. But is it much more enough? I believe that for as long as we have counterfeit medicines and we don't know the exact size of the problem, there's a problem. So yes, something is being done definitely by the Food and Drugs Authority, but a lot more needs to be done.
It's a shame also that we're having to tackle cholera today.
Yes.
I mean 2014, and I keep saying 2014 because I can't believe it. Now, Kolibu cannot even take anymore.
I mean, the cholera situation is actually very worrying, and even more worrying is the fact that, I was listening to the interview with the person on Black Stars, the media and Ghanaians and everything. We can name everybody from the coach to the players on football. We are intimate and passionate about it. When it comes to health issues, usually all of us included. I mean, I said if I'm to do a quiz, would you know who to call? Should you think there's Ebola in Ghana? You know who's really leading the fight? Yeah. Indeed, how many Ghanaians can mention the name of the Minister of Health or the one in charge of disease control? So, I mean, these are issues we need to look at. But yes, I mean, cholera.
Yeah, but whose fault is that?
It's difficult to know because on one hand, the population does not demand of the health leaders accountability and answers. Because I don't think we should, anyone who pays taxes, should find it acceptable that in 2014 there's cholera in Ghana. It is completely out. It's in fact, you say it's a catastrophic failure of the whole system. And if you cannot tackle cholera that we've known of for years, touch wood, should there be Ebola, what can you do? I mean, let's face it, cholera epidemic is more like a trial run. And if we can't get that right, and you can't handle cholera and you want to fight Ebola, Jesus, I mean, let's get real. And that is a fear some of us have, that as a country we take things for joke. We think, it's okay, it will go away. We've always believed that it won't happen to us, and that is classical when there's going to be a nasty crisis. People who say, this will not happen, I will not insure my car, I will not do this, I will not do this. When the problem occurs, they have no fallback. A good system, a good country, rather that's what we call expecting the worst. So you know that, hey, in life you have to prepare for the worst and pray for the best. But saying that, it won't happen, what have we put in place? I mean, cholera is a disease of filth. It's basically transmitted from mouth to anus, and it goes in that cycle. And if you're having cholera in Accra, and we see we are serious about tourism and about investment, if I'm sitting somewhere in New York or in the UK or any other country for that matter, and I want to put my money, am I going to take it into a country where the capitalist has cholera? I mean, it's a sign that these people don't get it. It's a sign that these people are joking. And sadly, we are not. I would have loved to see the cholera epidemic on the front page of all the newspapers, showing how many cases we have and how many deaths, to show how much fear we have
every day.
like we do for Akosombo. Akosombo has been there always, and we live on it. I mean, that is the sort of thing which it's visual, but importantly, it's warning people that, look, it's here. I mean, the Ebola issue has come. Are we tackling it in the same way that people know where it is and what to do? Most of us can recite the minimum level of water for the Akosombo Dam to operate. And it's been not just this year. It started from, I don't even know when. It's been there for like 20 or 30 years. So really, let's get serious about health.
Let me go to Facebook because South Africa says non-citizens arriving from Ebola-affected areas of West Africa will not be allowed into the country, with borders closed to people from Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. And get this, all non-essential outgoing travel to the affected countries has also been banned. This is a country's move, a country that has not recorded any case of Ebola. So I want to ask, our own preparation, have we done enough? What do you really know that we're doing on the ground?
Okay, I've already been in trouble for saying Ghana is not doing enough. So in terms of the technical planning, I would say that the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service, and really they call it the interministerial, they've done a lot of technical planning, which is not 100%, but something has been done. In terms of pulling the population along, and a critically essential part, what has been done is virtually nothing. I mean, I can just throw a question to you. You're a very senior journalist. Do you know who to call when there's Ebola? I mean, do you know
Dr. Sarkodie's name, readily comes up?
Wonderful. No, you've done well. Seriously, he's the head of public health, but he shouldn't be answering the phone, but at least you know the person.
Who should be?
Well, the question I've asked, and I'll pose this question again because I've asked it several times. At times of crisis in any nation, you want one voice, one clear, single, authoritative voice. And I was called by the Select Committee on Health, and I've called for that as well. That I told them the same thing, that Ghanaians want to know that if I have any anxiety about Ebola, I call this particular agency. However government does it, it's not for us, but it's for government to ensure, because there's too much noise. Everybody's talking about Ebola. So which one are you to trust? The whole point of having a nation is that we have a leadership, and the leadership gives us one single source of information on Ebola. When you move from there, what are we telling the schools? As at now, schools are going to reopen, private and public. There should not be different categories. The Ghana Education Service should actually have guidance for all schools, whether private or public.
They've told us, because the reopening was delayed, so that they would hear from the heads of the institutions as to what plans they have. And we are told that they are clear to reopen, I think, on the 27th. But they have to let the Ministry of Education know of their plans. And the minister also says they've given them materials, for education on Ebola. What more do you want?
Is that enough? And where is that information coming from? And what was the basis of that information? We have been told that students to the universities who are coming from Ebola countries should be looked at clearly and should be quarantined.
But interestingly, when the announcement of the postponement was made, we were told that some of the foreign students were already in the country because they didn't even get the message.
What about those who are doing language classes? Let's face it. Who gives that information? Is it from the Ghana Education Service? And what informed that decision? Is it factual? Is it based on evidence? And what is the basis? I think we shouldn't do things haphazard. It must be clear, it must be consistent, and it must have a basis. Ghana says we have now banned all international conferences for 3 months. Conferences are going on. What are we doing to check it? And why did we even ban it?
Conferences are going on.
Yeah, I mean,
international conferences?
Meetings are going on. I saw this week in the Daily Graphic, there was a big story about the conference going on, and I said, wow, in the same paper which carry the story, it's also carrying a conference which has been held. Who enforces it? But what was the basis? South Africa has said that they are banning, and if you read their statement, it's even worse than you have actually put it. It's even stronger. They are saying that all people from the affected regions, but they added that non-nationals, which means non-South Africans, who have been to those regions. So if I get to South Africa and they should ask me, have you been to Guinea? I'm in trouble. If you're South African, of course, whatever you have, you're home.
Yeah.
But you're a non-national and you've been to those places, whether you're a national of those places or not, is irrelevant. And as of today, the Medicines Sans Frontier was complaining that now that people are stopping flights to those countries, fewer and fewer people will fly there, so the airlines will not go there, making the situation worse. Now, let's fast forward to Ghana. What scenario are we playing? Should there be one case? We pray there is no case. But let's prepare. Should there be a case in Ghana, and should they ban international travel? Do you know what that would do to Ghana's economy? So when people sleep quietly and comfortably in the face of all this, I get worried. What we say is that we must be seriously anxious. We must put in place enough programs and plans and rehearse them. Yes, we may not need them, and we pray we don't need them. But the fact that you pray for no fire in your house doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy a fire extinguisher. Seriously, a fire extinguisher is just like a crisis management plan. What are our plans? Is it well rehearsed? And again, like all fire plans we have in our homes, there are a lot of people with fire extinguishers that nobody knows where it's kept. No, so government is doing a lot of planning, but do we know about it? I mean, we always say that when you're in your house with your kids and you don't even tell them what to do in case of fire, you are failing. Because most of our houses are fortresses. And Ghanaians always think that trouble will not come. And sadly, when it comes, then everything goes awry. Please, let's have the right information. Let's distribute it regularly. I mean, we have been told the schools have material. What material did they have and where did the materials come from?
I was expecting, a text message prompter, because there's so many things that even come on your phone when you haven't applied or activated anything, and it just prompts you. There's a conference. There's this particular conference that keeps coming to my phone, and I was thinking we'll have an Ebola alert like that. So you wake up every day and there's a text message.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what Ghanaians want is an assurance that we are working. Yes, we are working, but they want to see it. They want to feel it. They want to taste it. Also, Ghanaians want to know that in case I have any problem and I'm in doubt, what number do I call? Not the plenty numbers we've seen. I mean, all the Ebola helpline numbers are so many that even we, the educated, cannot read it. What about our brothers and sisters who unfortunately are not educated?
So you're saying we need one voice?
We need one voice, one number, and that voice, and one source, so that everybody can go there. Then the way we send the information can obviously change. But we have someone say they are doing a Ebola education fund. They want to raise $1 million. I don't know where that's coming from. I reloaded my, scratch card on one of the networks, and it says, so for Ebola information, text this and it's 10p.
Why should they be charging us for that?
Isn't that criminal, trying to make money on the back of Ebola? So a lot of things are wrong. I mean, when I thought it was irresponsible and really unacceptable. Seriously. I don't know. I don't know what else one could say, but to the extent that everyone in this country feels we are okay. I mean, how have we engaged the leaders?
I don't think everyone feels that we're okay. At least they're building certain facilities. We're told that CAF, for instance, the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, they have a facility, that is almost ready. I like
the word we are building, and we've been told it's almost ready. The one in Accra and Tema are not ready. The one in Tema hasn't even started. And we're talking about Ebola. Come on.
But what do you want us to do? It doesn't take a day to put up a building.
It doesn't take a day, but it takes urgency. It takes seriousness. Are they on the ground in Tamale working now? Or are they waiting for money? We are in crisis mode and we are behaving in normal mode. That is my worry. My worry is that we are behaving like, should there be Ebola? I pray there is none, but we are behaving like, should there be one? It will tell us that I'm coming and this is the date. Please prepare. No, we are in a crisis. If this were football, we'll find a way of doing everything to make the players happy. I mean, I am just saying that we are not attaching urgency and seriousness. We are, we must be seen. In fact, we must be uncomfortable in getting solution. Right now, we are running normal mode, and you are seeing what is happening around us. Are we waiting for something to happen, then we rush? Any decision done at that time is wrong, because in the end, let's plan now. I said, and I told the select committee, I said, for as long as people are doing, I mean, the committees working on Ebola are meeting once a month or once a week, and I say, you know what? You should be meeting every day till you feel like the country has been brought along enough with us. Because I can give you so many scenarios, but we need to bring the country along. Look, we will not, I pray, that we will not get Ebola in Ghana, but Ghana would thank us if these systems are in place, and they should not only be in place for this outbreak. Let's face it, these same systems are needed for cholera. Today, we have been told that 13 people have died in the DRC of another unknown hemorrhagic fever. We have been told that
that is not Ebola.
They don't know yet. Tests are going on. It's half and half. We don't know. If it's Ebola, that moves this crisis from where it is to something else. And that makes everything more complicated. So we believe that Ghana has the human beings that we can do this. We just want to see the urgency. We want to see the population brought along with us. Right now, the churches should be preaching Ebola message every Sunday. That message must come from government, from the highest sources possible. The mosque should be talking about Ebola. I mean, we don't even have a song on Ebola. Liberia have songs.
Sydney, very much Sydney did one.
Oh, really?
But I don't think it's been nationalized, because you only hear individuals who have access to it playing it.
Oh man, I would love to hear it.
So we need a national song on Ebola.
We need everything. See, we need all the resources. I believe that no country, including Ghana, will have all the resources to tackle problems. But what is needed, and the World Health Organization and the UN have said it, is when we communicate effectively with our population, you bring them together. So in times of this crisis, when you see people don't move from your homes because we want to quarantine, they'll go with you. Currently, should anybody come and say that quarantine namely, there'll be war. You understand? But if you've engaged the population, explain what's happening and explain how you would act in the time of suspected case, people will respect you and follow it.
But Prof, you know, there's also that thin line between scaring people and, you know, making them be alert. Because if you don't approach it well, we haven't recorded any case yet.
Praise the Lord. I like what you said, scaring people and providing enough information. But the whole thing, that is the whole point. That is why, in this crisis, if you want to communicate to the population, you don't just get up and say you're Alex Dodo or whoever and just communicate. And that's why I said this must be a national response. Why? You want to engage the experts in communication, usually the media. Your communication must be researched. How do you reach the people in this village? You can't send the same message across. You can have some general messages, but it's got to be tailored to the various audiences. And that is what the World Health Organization is calling for. That if you mobilize your population well enough, then they know what is going on, what to do, who to see. Yes, you have a risk of you can scare a few people, but trust me, when there's a vacuum, then rumors of drink salt and all these things happen. And the World Health Organization says that now people have died by taking on two people died in Nigeria by drinking the salt water combination. Yes, they were afraid of Ebola, so people said drink salt and do a few other things. They did it and died.
So this drug that has, you know, saved this doctor, because I saw him on television yesterday. And shouldn't we, as Ghana, we haven't recorded yet, but shouldn't we be getting some in our country by now?
Yeah, well, Zima.
Do we have it?
We don't.
Can our pharmaceutical companies, you know, get whatever combination and start working on something? How does it work? It's
quite a complicated drug to produce. Indeed, there's only a few quantities. Canada has donated 1,000 doses. What we could do is use the highest levels possible and get a few doses in the country. It's not going to be enough. But if for anything at all, it shows that we are also watching it. None of our companies can produce Zimap now. And we have stressed thousands of times that it's still an experimental drug. Yes, the two people in the US got cured.
Yeah, but at least they are alive.
They are very much alive. And as we keep saying, we don't know whether it was the Zimap alone or whether it's the whole environment, the healthcare system and everything.
I said that. I said this yesterday. Maybe just, you know, the hospital that they were kept, the care and...
Yep. They were flown. Each one was flown in an aeroplane where they are the only passenger. Yep. From Liberia to the US, the plane had to go and come for the next person.
But can I ask you, what is wrong with us Africans? And one American soul is like the whole of America.
That is how it should be in any country. That is how it should be. And if it's not so, we have a problem. And that is why I keep coming to this Ebola issue that I am fortunate in having worked in a lot of jurisdiction. If you are in most countries, the number of hours we will spend per day monitoring the media, writing reports, sending short messages to schools, to hotels, because an Ebola patient comes stays in a hotel, the bed linen are still soiled. What do the cleaners do? I mean, what message have we given to our hoteliers? So your point about the fact that we don't value our life, sadly, appears to be true. Until we get to that stage, and for me, I don't even call it just valuing, I call it respect. Every Ghanaian life is precious. And all of us should ensure that whatever it takes, we do to protect it. Because one of the maxims I've always said is that no one is safe if everyone is not safe. Trust me, if someone gets Ebola, it doesn't matter. You can be the best professor. You can go. So it is like no one is safe if everyone is not safe. So protection of others is actually protection for ourselves.
So can our pharmaceutical council get hold of this drug?
To get Zimap, we need to use the highest level of policy to get it from WHO. We might get, I don't think we can even get more than 5 doses. Can we manufacture it? The answer is no. It's quite a complicated product to manufacture. Even a company is trying to produce more, they cannot. But we also know that there are other supporting interventions that we can put in place. What we can do as a nation, and we have enough doctors, we have enough virologists, sit them down together and say, look, this is how the disease works, this is how it kills people. What treatment recommendation would you recommend? Then the FDA can say, look, we approve this in Ghana for that. That for me is what you call you are engaging your people. You are doing something about it. Because we say that there is no cure, but we know it affects the kidney, this. What can we do? What other drugs can stop those processes? You know, then as a country, you'll be seen to have been putting, I mean, yes, you don't have anything, but you fold your arms and die?
Yeah, at least you're being innovative in a way.
Thank you. That's the word I wanted to use.
So should we be sending some doctors to the US by now to see what kind of environment these 2 persons were kept, apart from the drug that was given them?
I love your questions because they are the answers themselves. essentially what you want to do in this type of crisis is that whoever has gotten success, you want to learn from that success. Where it has failed, you want to learn from the failure. Where they have a problem, you want to shadow what they are doing, and immediately be asking whether, if this scenario were to play in Ghana, what would we do? Indeed, if by now we don't have people monitoring the situation in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone regularly, not just for diseases, but for the approaches, because in some districts they've contained it, in others they haven't. So how are we using our health commissioners? And we need that sort of information. This is like a war, and it is a war. Information is everything, and you've got to gather it, analyze it, and use it. Are we doing that? I hope we are, but if we are not, I'm getting worried.
As governments, asking you questions, as in Professor Alex Dodo, are they seeking for any sort of information from you? Are you talking to them directly?
I was summoned by the Select Committee on Health to speak to them for 1 hour on it, and then there were discussions. So, in that regard, yes, I have addressed the Select Committee, but I'm not involved.
But the Ministry of Health is not engaging you in any way?
I think there's a committee. I'm not part of that committee. And I think it's been meeting, but I don't know.
Well, do you see us getting through this Ebola scare situation?
Oh, I believe that Ghana and Ghanaians themselves will not want Ebola here. I believe that we are praying that it doesn't happen, and that is a prayer bit. But in terms of our preparation, we need to up it, because even one case, we want it, that one case, we manage so efficiently that it wouldn't spread to 2 cases. But there's no case in Ghana. There is absolutely no case in Ghana, and we pray that there will be no case. But as I speak to you, I've had a chat with Noguchi. I don't know whether they will even let me speak. But they said, look, right now reagents are running out. What is the plan to replenish those reagents in Noguchi for the testing?
What does it cost?
I really don't know. I actually joked with the director that I said, well, you are not shouting for resources. But Noguchi is our testing center. What are we giving them regularly to make sure that, life goes on? There are all these system weaknesses that we must be paying serious attention to.
Hopefully somebody is paying serious attention to us this morning, because this discussion is really, really important, and I want to say thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.